Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Trevor and I coming to you Wednesday night, about 9, a little later, about 9:40. Excuse me there. Boston's ahead of Dallas by 6, I believe is what I saw there, about 6 minutes or so left. So Boston wins this one. Essentially, it's over. I mean, I think it's over now, but yeah, not good for the NBA when Boston just rolls through everybody pretty quick.
It's going to win this one and win the next and even it out. But yeah, if the Celtics get this one, it's all but over, and that just is going to kill some of the ratings.
The topic of the night is a few days old now, and as a sports fan, especially here in Iowa, I'm sure you're probably a little bit tired of hearing this, but I do want to get, just Trevor's thoughts and then just my thoughts out here. But Caitlin Clark not making the Olympics, and just it is like mainstream news. It's not sports news. It's not, women's sports news. It is mainstream Fox News. Every talk show, every news show is talking about Caitlin Clark not making the team. And it's not about the basketball. And we've talked about this for a few weeks here, really since she's got into the WNBA. So about a month now, really, because I think the draft, was, her first preseason game was middle of May, and now it's the middle of June. And it's became political. It's became everything that you don't want. I don't want my sports to be. And it's sad in my book. That's the number one word for me. It's just sad. And then we'll talk more about the ins and outs of it. But that's just kind of my over 10,000 view feeling is just sad.
It was supposed to just be the best 12 players, and that's it. There'd be no story, but that's not the world we live in. There's a lot of gray area, and that's where our topic's going to lead us tonight is all the gray. Should she be on? Should she not? Look at some of the others that are on there. I want to talk about Christine Brennan's interview that she had with Rich Eisen. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see the interview, but I heard she had a great article that she wrote.
It was really good. And I'll just tell you a little bit about it real quick. She's been covering the women's Olympic team since 1984. And just a few things that she talked about. She said over the years, those press conferences before and after games, tumbleweeds. Nobody goes to them because nobody really cared about the team, even though they're maybe the most dominant team in Olympic history. So you kind of have that going on. And, with the Olympics also, she mentioned you can't attend every event because you got dozens of events going on at the same time every day. So the women's basketball team didn't get a lot of reporters that wanted to go to it. And then she talked about how she sourced it from 3 people within whoever the decision makers were, that they were worried about Caitlin Clark's fans. And I think there's some key words there. Clark's fans, not our fans, not the WNBA fans, her fans. So in my opinion, not only are they jealous and envy of her, now they're just annoyed or jealous of the fans. I mean, sorry, the whole state of Iowa just kind of transferred over. That's, you should have seen this coming. So she said on Rich Eisen's social, she's like, what is this, 7th grade? It kind of seems like it. So when those reports start coming out and then they come out a couple days later and say, no, it wasn't about that. It was just purely about winning. They're talking out both sides of their mouth. She's been around it since 84. She may have done herself a disservice with this because who knows who's going to keep talking to her now that after she kind of reported on the truth behind the scenes.
Yeah, they're going to probably 99.9% chance to win the gold medal with or without her. She could play 5 minutes. She could start every game. Let's just get this out of the way. if the argument is the best 12 players in the WNBA or the best 12 American players, there is an argument to be made that she's not one of them. That is not an argument. But there's a few people on there, and then I'm gonna go straight here for you, Trev. Does she get added to the team now, or is there just no coming back from it now? Because there's a couple girls that are hurt coming back, or just may not be able to play. So I think there's at least one spot, pretty sure, that's going to be open. The one girl's only played like one game, and she's trying to come back, but it's not 100% that she's, and I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry, but there is a guard spot possibly open.
So it'll depend on her health. I think if she's healthy, they're going to stick with their decision. We'll get into that. And then, of course, the whole Diana Taurasi thing. I was talking to someone, and they kind of were the feeling it should be the best 12. So I just made the remark, okay, so it's pretty black and white. And he said, yes. And I said, well, what about Diana then? And he goes, well, she's been there a lot, her leadership. So I responded, so a lot of gray area then, right? I mean, that's where we're at with this thing. And we both just started laughing.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That is fine. But yeah, like you said, the same gray area is Caitlin Clark is a better basketball player right now. She's better than Diana Taurasi right now. Now, is she a better leader? Does she have the experience? Absolutely not. I don't think so. But yeah, gray area on which side do you want it to fit your narrative?
Yeah, it's just a mess. And then one more thing with Christine Brennan's interview that she had, she was talking to someone from Great Britain at the Masters that said he couldn't wait to cover Caitlin Clark at the Olympics. That's not going to happen now. And I think after Rich Eisen's show, she was going to go on someone, maybe it was Australia or somewhere, on another talk show, and they were disappointed with the decision too. So that tells you something when other countries are not happy with the decision that was made.
I mean, this is me. I am a little bit surprised that NBC didn't step in, because the Olympics is a TV show. It is a TV show. Yes, there's competition. Yes, there's everything. But NBC gives the Olympics billions of dollars to broadcast that. And we've talked about it in NCAA football. ESPN is pulling strings on what teams are going to what conference, when these games are shown, the playoff, who gets in. ESPN is involved. I just don't understand how NBC didn't have a seat at that table and say she's on the team. Because NBC is the biggest loser in all of this. It's not Caitlin Clark. There's going to be I think the WNBA is proving that it's losing day by day in every decision they make. But they're not the biggest loser in this. NBC is the biggest loser in this decision. And I don't think it's close.
Steve, NBC is for sure the biggest loser. There's already reports that they're upset about it. They should be. I forget who I heard say it last night, but someone was talking like, why should we be surprised? And the WNBA and this Olympic team, there's a lot of overlap. I hear people saying it's all separate. No, it's not. All the players are WNBA players. The coach is a WNBA coach. She tweeted about Caitlin Clark before that first preseason game. It's more than one player. So it's all the same people for the most part. And he was just saying, you shouldn't be surprised by this, because here's a business that's been failing since the day one, and they get bailed out every year by another business, the NBA. So why should they have any urgency? Why should they care? Win or lose, NBA is going to bail them out.
Yeah, Trent Condon he was a big proponent of that very statement. He goes, why would we expect anything less? This league cannot function by itself. This league would have folded 20 years ago. I think it's 25 years old. It would have folded 20 years ago if it wasn't financed by the NBA. And so they don't, like you said, they don't need to make money per se, because like you said, they're going to get bailed out. Doesn't matter if they make $1, they make $100 million, or they lose $100 million. that league will exist because the NBA feels like it has to make it exist.
Here's the funny part about it. For years, we've heard these women pound the table. They want more exposure, better travel, more money. Well, two of those three things are happening right now in real time with the travel and the exposure. Here's the problem, though. You ever smell something when someone's trying to feed you something, a little BS? What they're really trying to say is they wanted all this to happen, but they wanted it to happen, in their own way.
Right.
Not just about one player. Diana Taurasi, for example. I mean, this is sort of a low blow to her. Yes, she's probably the greatest basketball player ever for the women's side. She had 20 years in the WNBA to make stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
And these superstars like Caitlin Clark, you can't predict where they're going to come from. Sometimes they just come out of nowhere, and they are what they are. So you can embrace it, or you can push back against it, and they're pushing back against it.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, sad. And, politics, race, where you're from, it's all part of this. And it was a missed opportunity for Caitlin Clark and the veterans to travel and be together for 3 weeks. So some of these women can teach Caitlin Clark. Like, she could learn something from some of them. They're experienced pros. Diana Taurasi, there's nothing in the world of women's basketball that she hasn't seen. Nothing. She's won many Olympics. She's won, college NCAA championships. She's won.
She hasn't seen full arenas, but now she is.
Right.
But go ahead.
But there's nothing that on the floor that she hasn't seen. And Caitlin Clark can learn from that. She needs to get better at basketball. She's really, really good, but she needs to get better. And she would be the first to tell you that. And, A'ja Wilson can teach her things. And there's a lot of great players that could teach her things, but they just refuse to let it happen. And it shows the leadership by the coach, the Olympic selection committee. And you can't tell me if A'ja Wilson would have stood up and said she's on the team, it wouldn't have happened. Because she's the best player in the world right now. And it's really not close. She is so fun to watch. But obviously she didn't do it.
Could have made a stand for sure. That I have no doubt about that. It's just kind of weird. I mean, I don't know why there is so much resentment. I get it to an extent. They've been in the league for a long time and they've paid their dues. I think another thing that factors into this is Caitlin Clark didn't go to one of the premier college programs like a lot of the others did. The right. UConn factor, South Carolina, Tennessee, the whole UConn-Iowa game in the Final Four. I think this is their last little chance to, I don't know, maybe get back at her. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt early on, but the more and more that comes out, the more and more you see, they're telling us one thing, and then they're doing and saying other things. And I think most of the public in the sports world can pick up on this now, and a lot of the media members are as well. Back in the day, you could probably fool sports fans. When we were growing up, you'd watch a game, you'd see an interview after, and that was about all you really got, right? Other than maybe something on SportsCenter in the newspaper. Well, now everybody's got social media, Twitter, Instagram. Their head coach for the Olympic team, like I said, was on Twitter. So we can smell through the BS.
I mean, perfect example is when the Fever played the Washington Mystics. Washington plays in a 4,000-seat arena every game, except for against the Indiana Fever, where they sold out the NHL and NBA arena, 21,000 people roughly. Sold out. They don't do that for A'ja Wilson. They don't do that for Angel Reese. They do it for one player. And the Golden Goose is they're just trying to wring its neck. And it's sad. Even today, that video came out where she's playing with those little kids at the park or whatever, and she blocked a couple of their shots, goofing around, whatever. I read an article today that if you wouldn't have known what it was, I should pull it up, but it was something about, Caitlin Clark rejects young WNBA fan. It all, like, if you didn't know what was happening, you would have thought like they were trying to get an autograph or get a picture with her, and she turned away and wouldn't do it. But had nothing to do with it. Yes, she rejected their shot. And then the one kid, the sister distracted her and he hit a shot over her. It's kind of funny, actually. But here she is doing a great thing. Her and one of the Pacers are out there at a park playing with a couple kids. Yes, it's a PR thing, and yes, it's what they're expected to do, but she was still doing it when she needs all the rest she can. She's trying to do the right thing, and she said all the right things and done all the right things. Even when she was, snubbed, she went up to the podium and talked and she's going to cheer for them. She's going to watch them, hope they do the best, hope they win. She's done nothing but be gracious and said and done all the right things in public. Now, I'm sure behind the scenes, she might not be super happy, and that's okay. You shouldn't be. She's a competitor. She wants to win. She wants to be on that team. And you want that fight in her a little bit.
She said everything perfectly. Interviews, like she always does. And you're right, that little video that came out today, they'll spin that however they want just to get clicks and headlines. And that's the sad part, where we're all arguing and fighting over each other, and she's just saying all the right things and practicing and trying to get better. So there's two way different sides to all of this. But it is crazy, though. I knew on Monday a lot of the sports shows would lead with it or be a main topic, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's mainstream, regular MSNBC, CNN, Fox. That had nothing to do with sports. Mainly, they do sports topics if it's one of the main, threads, which this is. Unfortunately, it's right there with the Donald Trump trial and the Hunter Biden trial. It's those three topics right now, which is crazy.
Be obviously the best of the three.
Yeah. I'd much rather talk about her missing the Olympics than those other two stories. But
yeah, it is. But it is fascinating, and you probably saw the Dave Portnoy video I saw you in. That's where, if it was black and white, it'd be the best 12, but that's where it goes back to the gray area. This was just such a missed opportunity to keep promoting the game, to let, when she's playing too, people tune in to watch her, they're going to learn about the other players, right? Same thing when she goes into an away arena, people are going to find out some of the better players in the WNBA. I've learned about several of them that I didn't know about. So just really a missed opportunity if you're looking at it from Business 101.
That's the biggest miss in the whole thing is business and marketing 101. Because it would. Now, when they show the front of the Olympics and they highlight the top 4 or 5 athletes, it's going to be Simone Biles, and it's going to be, sad, I don't even know this, but the best track runner. Going to be the best swimmer. Ledecky will be on that. But, kind of per se, the Mount Rushmore of the athletes, Caitlin Clark probably would have been on that. And that's a women's basketball player that would have been on that team, that would have been in every highlight and every opening of the Olympics, and now there won't be one. But they can't see.
Back to what they said real quick about them being worried about her fans because of the lack of playing time. I think myself, anyone in Iowa, we expected her to not play very much at all.
Oh.
The last person off the bench, maybe a couple minutes when they're blowing someone out, which they probably will a lot of games. So to me, that's just a very weak excuse. Like I said, we can smell through that.
I don't.
Most Iowans are expecting her to play a lot. If she's just there on the bench, that's going to draw eyeballs, just like you said. Yep. So just
cheering, a missed opportunity. Waving a towel. That's all she needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the camera will be right on her. And And I've talked to a lot of people too that said, yeah, they're not even going to watch. Now, I have to admit, I'm not a super big Olympics guy. I don't know if you are. Now, when Michael Phelps or someone's competing, I'm definitely tuning in, but I'm more of a casual with the Olympics. If it's on, I'll watch.
Yeah.
I'm not really seeking it out there, but I know a lot of people are diehards with the Olympics, and a lot of people are like, yeah, we don't have any plans to watch the women's team now. And I don't know if I will or not. Just like I said, I'm a casual. I'm not going to boycott necessarily, but if Clark was there, I 100% would have.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because just on what happens for the TV ratings in the Olympics period. And then if, they're going to come through, and if more people watch, if more people watch this year's women's team than 4 years ago or 3 years ago, because it was actually 2021, and they're going to brag about that, and they're going to say, well, you don't need Caitlin Clark. But what could it have been? Will they put all the games in prime time
3
now?
or 4 times? Yeah.
I just don't understand what they were thinking.
Well, I think we know now what they were thinking, and it was all the attention to one player, and they wanted it. They were okay with all these changes as long as it was about them and not someone else.
Yeah, it's envy, it's jealousy, and this is, kind of a woman scorned is a bad deal, and some of these women feel it, and they don't know how to handle it.
Some of them are going to be exiting the WNBA sooner than later. So have fun with your one last little hurrah here, and trying to punk Caitlin maybe if you can get it. Get your last shot in while you still can. And one thing that I keep hearing a lot of people say, 2 things actually. One, yeah, she'll probably make the Olympic team in 4 years from now.
Right.
Well, the question is, will this spike of momentum still be there 4 years from now?
Well, and you think she's 22 years old right now, I believe. And in 4 years, she's 26. That is 4 prime years of basketball for her. I mean, that's 4 of your best years ever. Now, as long as she stays healthy and does what we think she will, I have no doubt in my mind she'll make it in 28. She'll make it in 32 and maybe in 36. If that's what she wants to do, if she wants to play that long and do that. But there's no guarantees. This was a guarantee if you wanted it to be.
It certainly was. And then this was the part that nobody's really talking about, at least not that I've heard anyway. When the Olympics start next month, essentially just about a month is going to be taken off the WNBA, right?
Yep.
And Caitlin Clark's not going to be on TV unless she makes a team as an alternate or whatever. So I am interested when they come back in August, what happens mid-August? Kids are going back to school. Teachers are going back. Football's ramping up, high school especially. And so I wonder
after the Olympics, football starts.
Is there going to be a dip in ratings and attendance? I think they're going to be okay right now, but I am interested to see, do we see a dip? And if there is a dip, is it a big one? This will be the first test for the new fans. The fans that have always been here, they'll stay, but the new wave of fans, this will be the real first test that we'll get to see the results of.
Yeah, when life happens again. And they haven't won against football yet. Football is king in America. High school, college, pro. And
football
it's king. It doesn't, there will be more people watching the NFL Network on a Tuesday night, August 21st, seeing if Aaron Rodgers is doing the correct steps and if he's at practice, if, who's holding out, who's not there, who got hurt, then we'll watch a WNBA game. And that's
fantasy
crazy
football,
to think
they'll
about.
Be paying attention to that. You're right. And, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, do you have anything else on the WNBA, Caitlin Clark?
No, I think
transition.
We've talked almost 25 minutes on that. Boston did just beat the Celtic or the Mavericks. So essentially, that one's over. It's just a matter if it's in 4 or 5, or I don't think 6, but I would say 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, it's too bad. I thought it'd be a closer series, but yeah, 3-0, that's it's all over but the crying just about.
Yeah, so let's get back to a little bit of football here. About 1 month from now, and this is crazy too, and I know you want to get to Aaron Rodgers, the Big 12 media days are in Vegas. And all the media day, everybody's going to have theirs middle to late July. So that's just a month, 5 weeks from now. And then it's full bore ahead on football.
You know when the first college games start off the top of your head?
I think Iowa State's game is August 31st. I think it is.
And there'll be some games like the week before.
Yes, there'll be like one game October 24th, like what Iowa State's doing next year, not this summer, but next year, like the Ireland game, or if they've got someone going somewhere. And then there'll be some games starting that Thursday. Since that's always Labor Day weekend, there's always Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday games. So they spread them out pretty good because they don't have to fight the NFL yet. So they can spread them out and play each one of those days.
Far away. Well, it'll be here before we know it. So yeah, Big 12 media days. We'll see what the top coaches have to say down there.
One other, the NBA game. What do you think of Dan Hurley going, before we get more into football, what do you think of Dan Hurley going back to UConn and not taking the Lakers job?
I think it was the right call from what I've heard. I mean, LeBron's getting older. They're probably not going to compete for a championship ever again. So he's got a chance to do a three-peat, which I believe has never happened, I think. Or at least a modern.
UCLA did.
Back in the day, but not in this modern.
So back-to-back Duke in the early 90s. And then
I don't blame him. And they talked about the money was pretty low too, compared to some of the other coaches and compared to what they offered Coach K way back in the day. So, yeah, I don't blame him.
Yeah, I think it is much more of an indictment on the Lakers and their organization than on anybody. 6 years, $70 million, top 5, I think, but not. And he parlayed this into most of these coaches have when they win a national championship, they're now the highest paid coach. That was always kind of the thing in football. I'm sure basketball is very similar. So he's won back-to-back, so he gets a good raise, and he might have been able to parlay that into a little bit more even. So I have no idea what he gets paid from UConn, but he's not poor. It's not going to be poor ever. And I do question it just a little bit because that is the Lakers. That's a top 2 or 3 basketball job in the world, I believe, even if it's – and then you get $70 million no matter what. And if it doesn't work out, you can go right back to college. Or you can – usually the NBA recycles coaches as good as anybody. Billy Donovan, went to Oklahoma City. Now he's with Chicago and, but he's just – you can find other NBA jobs. Or if you want to go to TV for a year or two or go back to college. Billy Donovan, if he decided he wanted to go back to college, could about name his job. And he hasn't been in college in 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it is. So that part of me is a little bit, that goes to show that there had to be some talks with LeBron, you would think. I would want to talk to, not that I'm ever going to be even remotely in that situation, but if I'm him and I'm getting ready to take that job, I have to have a conversation with LeBron, don't you?
So, and they tried to come out too and say this was their number one candidate. Well, they haven't had a coach for quite a while. So I think the Lakers are not as well run as they used to be. From everything that I hear from the talking heads that I usually listen to. Like I said, I'm no expert on it, but it sounds like they're not as rich as they used to be and not as well run.
Yeah, Dr. Bus is not there anymore. It's the kids. And they didn't risk everything to get the Lakers and mortgage everything and hit it correctly. And some people just haven't. I mean, even, the Yankees have come out and said that they can't sustain this salary, which is crazy to me because that is truly one of the wealthiest franchises in the world. But again, it's not one owner. Now it's a family. It's 3, 4 kids, whatever it is. So they're all split and they all want to make. So, and I don't know exact dynamics of all that, but I know Dr. Buss had more than one. Jeannie's running it, but she's not the only owner, I'm pretty sure. Or if she is the only owner, she had to buy out her brothers and sisters. So she may not have the cash flow money. And same thing with Hal Steinbrenner. I think he's the one running the Yankees. But there's several brothers there and maybe a sister too. I can't remember. But there's, not just 1 or 2 kids there. And so if one person does own it, they had to buy out their siblings. And so they don't have the cash flow. And that's, same thing on a smaller scale happens to farms, to, when mom and dad or grandma, grandpa own it, it's just one person. But when you split it 4 or 5 ways, it's a little bit harder, and the cash flow isn't there if one person wants to buy out the others.
Hear that a lot on farms. Some, one of the kids wants to keep it going, the other 2 maybe don't, or vice versa, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, I think it's more of an indictment on the Lakers, and he'll have more opportunities too, just like you said, next year when the round of coaches get fired. If he's serious about going to the NBA, he'll get an opportunity.
Yep. Yeah, he'll be able to choose where he wants to go every year. They are a free agent every year. His contracts don't mean anything.
No, that's exactly right. So, yeah, I kind of, from everything that I was hearing, I thought he'd probably go back to UConn because, again, the Lakers just waited so long on this. Now it's the J.J. Redick possibility. It sounded like they were maybe waiting for him to get done with the finals, and then here comes this. It just doesn't seem very organized.
No. There was – you always hear of that list that everybody should have in their desk drawer, the athletic directors, owners. And that list wasn't very organized. Might have been on different sheets of paper. It wasn't number 1, we call him. Number 2, we call him. Number 3, we call her. Whatever it is. I don't think, or they had to go down the list so far that there's no more list. I guess that could be the other thing.
That definitely could be, or they're just throwing darts at the dartboard randomly.
All right, let's get back to Aaron Rodgers. I know you kind of talked about this, but not reporting to now it is mandatory training camp or off season, right? And he is not there.
Yeah, so yesterday, people weren't sure if it was just going to be one day that he was gone. Then the reports come out today that he's going to be gone the entire time, and it sounds like tomorrow we're going to find out why. So it's been a weird series of events. He misses one day. Now he's going to miss the entire camp. And then, it sounds like we will find out tomorrow what he was doing and where he was at. So it is interesting. After last season, he went on TV or whatever he did and said, hey, we got to get all this outside noise. It's got to be all about football. Well, it doesn't really seem like that for him. Again, I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I doubt it's anything I don't think there's any emergencies or anything going on. It sounded like he was on a vacation or, something, one of his interests that he's into. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of the Jets. I was starting to buy back into them a little bit just because they did so well record-wise last year with some of the worst quarterback play. But I don't know. It sounded like they interviewed some of his teammates. They had no idea this was going to happen. And they talk about how the veterans probably don't really care for this. The young players are too young to know what's right or wrong at this point. But you just wonder, is this going to cause some friction within the team? Not that it'll necessarily derail their season or anything, but when things get bad, if they go on a 2-game losing streak or something, this will get brought back up in the media.
Yeah, he's scrutinized. I would say it's not Caitlin Clark level compared to the WNBA, but he is on that same, situation where everything he does is analyzed every which way. His politics, his beliefs, his everything gets taken into play on everything he did. Everybody's speculating right now, and let's just say it does come out tomorrow that his mom had to have surgery or something. And I know, but then that's going to be like, well, he's been estranged from his family. It's just he can't get away from it either.
Yeah. We'll see, but the people I listen to, they made it sound like it's going to be something. It's going to sound pretty silly why he was gone. So that's what I'm expecting to come out tomorrow if we do get that news.
Which new drug did he find that he wants to try? In some foreign country.
What important person is he? Yeah, or what important person is he meeting in some other country if he decides to run for vice president someday, right. Or who knows what? Who knows what it could be? But it's just interesting. It's last night online someone asked, how many teams realistically can't make the Super Bowl this coming season, and I just started jotting down the list, and I said realistically probably about 23 teams don't have a chance to make it. I said there's about 9 teams really, and those are the top quarterbacks and top coaches. So I marked out the Jets. I'm like, I don't know. Not right now, I don't think. It's a small list. The fan bases all want to believe they really have a chance, but when you really break it down, no. It's the top 8 or 10 quarterbacks are the only teams that realistically probably have a chance of getting there.
Yeah, and there's probably 1 or 2 teams that are not on your list that are going to make a run. But if you really get down to it, they're going to get beat. They're going to get into the playoffs. Maybe they win on the road. They're the wild card team. They win on that road in the divisional series, and then they lose to the Chiefs or they lose to the 49ers because they're just not as good. Kind of like the Jaguars did a couple years ago. And they played really good against the Chiefs for a while, but then the Chiefs were just better.
Yeah, so it was interesting when I really wrote it down. I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty small list. So, and it probably should be when you think about it. It's all the best quarterbacks and coaches. There might be a surprise, but it'll be the usual suspects most likely.
And how about,
I didn't have a whole lot. Do you have anything else?
Did you? Mike Tomlin signed a 3-year extension, which is a little bit surprising. Did you see the picture that they put out? That the same 2 guys sitting at the same table in the same room. You see that picture?
Yeah, I did.
Twitter, and the joke was a lot less hair and more gray hair in the beard and everything. It is. And I saw the other thing. I just thought it was interesting that it's the same people. There's been 3 Steelers coaches since the 70s. In like the early to mid 70s. That's absolutely insane. And it's why they're always good. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record. It's absolutely insane. But there is something to consistency, steadiness. And that is why Iowa football has been so good. I mean, they're the same thing. My entire life has been 2 head coaches at Iowa. And Iowa State is getting there with Matt Campbell. This is 9 years, which in today's collegiate environment is really long. And that's why it's just kind of – there's not – we had the 1 year that was the drop-off. And maybe some not living quite up to expectations, but they're not 2-10, changing coaches. It's not like it was – after McCarney, where it was 2 years of Chiswick, 4 years of Rhodes, it was just 3 coaches. It's their basketball. The thing with their basketball team is Iowa State's changed coaches a lot, but each one's been pretty successful since Hoiberg. There are 3 coaches, all been to Sweet 16. Just there was the Wayne Morgan and Greg McDermott, which McDermott just baffles me. He's won at UNI like nobody else, and he's won at Creighton I mean, he's just a hair short of getting to the Final Four with Creighton the last 2 years, but at Iowa State it did not work. But continuity is just so important in everything.
I didn't realize it'd been that many years already for Campbell there with the football team. I would have guessed like 7, but yeah, 9. It's time flies, and you're right. There is something for consistency. There are some Steelers fans that are a little upset. They're ready for a change, which is probably understandable. Not having a losing season is good, but the Steelers' expectations are winning playoff games and getting to a Super Bowl. So it'll be an interesting year with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, him getting that extension. If they don't make the playoffs or have a losing record, things are really going to get hot there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Anything else? I'm trying to think. Oh, we talked about last time McCaffrey, holding out and everything. And I think it wasn't 12 hours after he done recording that he signed his deal.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we talked about that last time because I kept hearing a bunch of rumors and reading stuff from people I trust, and it wasn't in the national media that I saw anyway. And then, yeah, the very next day he signed. So the people I listened to and the people I trust, I guess they were right on with that one. I can't take too much credit. I just listened to other people I trust, and
yeah, that was pretty funny that we're talking about how if he doesn't get paid and what's he going to get paid? And it was right at that. I think it was $19 million. I think we said $18 to $20 million. I mean, it was just you were right on it, Trev.
Yeah. So I'll keep listening to those people, but no, don't have a lot else. I know Owen and Tara are coming out. They're going to be here Friday.
You got Zach Bryan coming this weekend. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to do Garden of the Gods, maybe the Royal Gorge. Yeah, he did. He's birthday week, so we're going to do that Friday, Saturday, head up to Denver. It's at the Broncos Stadium, whatever it's called now. It's Mile High to me. I don't care what they keep changing the name to. So that'll be fun. And, he's supposed to release his new album here any day. I wouldn't be surprised if he releases it this Friday or next. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to hear a good amount of the new songs.
Yeah, the only thing I keep, the only downside is he's getting to have so many songs now, which we talked about this with George Strait as well, that, you see it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, 4 or 5 songs that you're not hearing that you want to hear. And that's the only downside of right now what's happening at Zach Bryan concerts. He's not playing something in the orange for the most part. He does every once in a while. And I think Heavy Eyes has been cut out of several of them. And there's just Snow. There's just several songs that he's not playing now, but he's getting to the point now. He plays for 2.5 hours. So it's not that he only plays for an hour, but he just has too many songs that everybody knows, and he's releasing new music. And it's exactly what we talked about with George Strait. When you have 60 number ones, you can't play them all. And then just because you're an artist and releasing new music all the time, you want to play some of your new stuff, and you can only play about 30 a night.
That's exactly right. So we'll see what old ones he plays, what new ones he plays, but it should be fun. We're going to be sitting up high, but they'll have the Jumbotron going, so it should be a good time. The weather should be good as well.
So of the 2 new ones that's kind of been released, Purple Gas and Pink Skies, which one do you like better?
I like the Purple Gas. I heard it on his Instagram a while back, so I kind of like that one. But what about you?
I like Pink Skies. It just, with losing my grandma again, right at Christmas time last year and stuff, it's exactly what it says. I mean, it does. So.
Yeah, both are definitely really good. And yeah, all of his songs got different meanings for different people, just like yourself there for that one. I think the song I'm most excited to hear on the album is Oak Island. I don't know if you've seen any videos of that one, but
he's done
that one's more of an
upbeat,
right? Fast-paced. Yeah, he's played a few times, so that one I think is what I'm looking forward to most. But again, there'll be plenty on there that maybe I haven't heard, and looking forward to that.
All right, I got nothing else. Have a good weekend, Trev. That'll be fun. Wish I could get out there, but we got 3 baseball games and golf on Sunday and Monday, and it's that time of year.
Yep, summer's here, so you're busy. You got the kids, you got baseball and all that stuff. So everyone,
Absolutely.
all of the teachers I know, their kids are all getting older now, so it's less golf and more activities with the kids.
Yep, absolutely. All right. We'll talk to you later, Trev.
All right, you have a good night.